Perhaps the most misunderstood, the most abused, and the most neglected gift is the gift of prophecy. Hi, this is Barry Phillips with 10-Minute Torah, Day 3 of Chukat. Chukat references those ordinances or commands that are just beyond our understanding, and well, we'll just have to take Yah's word for it and obey. Let's go to Bamidbar, Numbers chapter number 20. Beginning with verse 1, and it says, "And the children of Israel, all the congregation, came into the wilderness of Sin in the first new moon, and the people stayed in Kadesh, and Miriam died there and was buried there." The scripture's translation begins verse 2, with saying, "Now there was no water for the congregation, and they assembled against Moshe and against Aaron." The Hebrew doesn't say now. There is the letter Vav to begin that line. And, of course, if you studied Hebrew at all, you know that the Vav is most often used to connect the idea of and. So it should be that Miriam died there and there was no water for the congregation. Now, it may be referencing two negative events simultaneously without any real connection, but nothing in the Torah is accidental. Nothing. Every letter is exactly so, exactly intended. There are no mistakes in the Torah. Nothing is left out that should be there, and nothing is repeated that is repetitive. So Yah intentionally worded the Torah through Moshe as he did to convey to us the signs, the insights, the clues, the bright lights that would sparkle at certain places, and leaving us with the question, why is it written that way? Especially when you look at the Hebrew letters themselves, certain times that they are just uniquely formed, or vowel points are left out, or a letter that would normally be included is left out. So a lot of clues in Hebrew. Fascinating language, and that's why Yah chose it above all other languages to convey his heart to his people. So, velo haya mayim. If I'm going to say it, let's say it right. Velo haya mayim. And no, there was water. There was no water. And so this understanding is that there is a connection. We know that Miriam, the sister of Moshe, was a prophetess. It's Miriam who takes the timbrel and leads the women in prophetic dance and song after the army of Pharaoh has drowned in the sea. And she has this mantle, it would seem, upon her. When she passes away, her gift of prophecy has ceased. Then we find out the water ceases. Well, it's just possible, plausible thought here, not declaring a doctrine, but it's plausible thought, that Miriam was prophesying about the rock from which the water flowed. Maybe we should even say from whom the water flowed. For Rosh Ul says that that rock followed them, and that rock was and is Messiah. So it is from the riven side of Messiah that the water flowed and met the thirst. The living water of Messiah meets the thirst of Israel. A lot of symbolisms there, a lot of preaching to be made. And it was perhaps then Miriam who prophesied about the identity of this rock and the fact that this rock would be later personified. And from this later personified rock would flow rivers of living water that would not only quench their thirst, but would rise up from within them and become artesian wells, as Yeshua said, that out of their innermost being would flow these rivers of water. That is, you drink of Messiah, he indwells, and then he bubbles up and issues forth from you. Again, not hard to preach on those things. That's just good stuff. But let's consider the idea of prophecy as it is in need today. Laura and I have been leading not only congregations, but leading in music and worship for decades. And there have been times where other musicians, for whatever reason, couldn't be there or be in a situation, a small home group or something other, and the need is to worship. I can pick up a guitar, I can play some songs, and I can lead worship. Now, I say that in that I know how the mechanics of that work. I know how to play enough for myself and my wife to sing together. But I also, over the years, have learned how to pause, maybe sing a little extra at a certain point, and just have a sensing, Yah's wanting to step in here and he's wanting to do something. There have been occasions in playing with a band. We've had bands and have one now at House of David, and the Ruach just begins to move and the cadence of a song changes and there's a little bit of a morphine. And there have been occasions where just a spontaneous song drops in and I'm wondering, why are we playing this? Why has the dynamics and the rhythm and the chord progression, why have things changed? And sometimes it's the band, we're looking at one another wondering, what are we going to do here? Where is this going? When then lyrics began to flow, not out of my understanding, but Yah gives the lyrics and we start worshiping and it's a spontaneous song. Now that's a rarity. I mean, it doesn't happen often. In fact, it's been a long time since that's happened, but it has happened. What is that? That is the gift of prophecy, moving in a moment of time to speak what's on the heart of Yah, even in a song setting. Now, it may not be a foretelling of the future. We may not be singing about a blood moon to come or an asteroid hitting the earth or any of those dramatic things. It could be just a proclamation of a particular truth, especially about Messiah at that moment, that is needed to be proclaimed and heard. And it's not always just in the area that the audience is sitting. Sometimes it's announcing things into the spirit realm. And here it is, I think, at times where prophetic worship is misunderstood. I do not knock or throw a stone at all against singing pre-recorded songs that someone else has written, and we take them and we use them in our own manner. We change it up a little here, a little there to suit our needs, or our capabilities of musicianship and vocals. And we sing the popular top 40 of the Hebrew Roots movement type thing, and people dance and everybody's happy. That's wonderful. But there are times that Yah is wanting to announce things and proclaim things. And when people get into the realm of worship and they're connecting with the Most High and they're stepping into that spiritual realm, it's not just about melody and lyrics. It's about connection with the Most High. And so there are times that people are waving banners, and it may be just, the symbology on the banners, it just kind of fits the song. But as you're waving those in the air, you're stirring the air. You never know what might be being stirred, how you're proclaiming the message of the flag in the air. The dance, taking steps, is a militant marching. You're conquering ground. You're accomplishing something. You're stepping in bold steps of faith and belief. You're announcing with your lyrics the truth of Yah. You are spontaneously playing upon the strings and prophesying even upon the instruments and upon the drums and the keys. Don't neglect the prophetic edge of worship especially as it declares the identity of Messiah, because we need some water to flow. And I hope to see you again tomorrow. To then, shalom.